Today on DLife, the amazing Dr. Nat Strand, the first person with diabetes to win the grueling TV series, The Amazing Race.
Do you recognize this vegetable? It's healthy, it's low carb, and oh so flavorful. More later in the DLife kitchen.
Retired postman Carol Paxton had always worked hard to keep his type 2 under control, with limited success. Then came the aha moment, and it all clicked. Welcome to DLife. I'm Benno Schmidt.
And I'm Mother Love. The Amazing Race is one of TV's most popular and demanding competition shows.
To win, you need endurance, courage, and of course, smarts.
Which makes this especially sweet that the winning duo in the fall of 2010 contest included two female doctors, one of whom has type 1 diabetes.
Come with us now as we look at what it took for Nat Strand and her teammate, Kat Chang, to prevail.
4 continents, 30 cities, 32,000 miles. Nat and Kat, you have made Amazing Race history as the first all-female team to win the Amazing Race. And you have won the $1 million. Congratulations.
Back in her real life, Nat lives in the coastal city of Newport Beach, California. She's got a guy friend named Nate and a busy career as an MD specializing in pain management.
Hi, this is Dr. Strand.
Recently, Nat shared her story with DLife founder Howard Steinberg.
So during the race, did diabetes actually become the motivating factor for you, that you have to get to the next level and you have to get through it because of the diabetes, not in spite of the diabetes?
I really wanted to show that you could do anything with diabetes. So when times were tough, it definitely did give me a little bit extra strength to draw upon. But in the moment to moment, I mean, as you know, diabetes is a huge pain. And, you know, there was moments where I was like, oh, I just want my pump to stop beeping, or I don't want to have to worry about a refill right now, or I don't have to worry about feeling extra tired because my blood sugar is high. But in the big picture, that strength and that desire to prove myself really gave me some extra spunk.
It makes you who you are, but at the same time, it's kind of, you have to drag it along with you.
Exactly.
Nat's been dragging her diabetes along since her diagnosis at age 12 in Scottsdale, Arizona. The Strand family was always drawn to outdoor life, and Nat and her brother Nick soaked it all in. But then, the telltale symptoms began.
My first memory is driving on a road trip with my family and my dad saying, stop drinking so much, because we keep having to pull over to go to the bathroom, you know, and I remember kind of just being so thirsty. And I went to camp that summer. I came home and my parents took one look at me and knew something was wrong.
Despite her diagnosis, it's always been full speed ahead for Nat. These days, she balances the demands of her busy medical career with things like half marathons and extreme outdoor sports. But nothing could have completely prepared her for the Amazing Race.
I'm currently in probably the hardest situation for a type 1 diabetic on an insulin pump. The schedule's off, I don't know when I'm gonna eat.
3:37.
I knew that running the race as a diabetic was going to be a challenge.
But I've kind of gotten crafty at learning how to work our schedule to make sure that I'm safe and that I can do everything I want to do.
But despite her careful planning and undeniable superwoman status, the Amazing Race eventually plays on one of her deepest phobias, a major fear of heights.
What happened was we were in Norway. Where's the next gondola? We were taking this gondola up a pretty steep and very high mountainside. Now, I've watched the show enough to know that when you're taking a gondola up the side of a mountain in Norway, you're not coming down in the gondola most of the time.
We're just afraid of what might be waiting for us up top.
You're going down some other way that has to do with, you know, wings or cables or bungees.
Yes.
So I was really nervous.
Nat, you're fine. We're on a gondola. We're just on a gondola right now. Don't take yourself off.
I don't know if everyone is this way, or if I'm just particularly sensitive to stress, but my blood sugar shoots through the roof with stress.
I think my nerves are making my blood sugar go up a little bit high.
Fortunately, Nat and Kat had previously earned a free pass called a fast forward, allowing them to skip any sky-high stunts, at least for now.
Well, one question I get a lot is, well, production must have made some exceptions for you, right? And they did not. They don't make any exceptions for anybody. So I had to figure out, when I'm in Ghana or in Oman, where it was pushing over 120 degrees, how am I going to keep my insulin cold? And then when I'm in the Arctic Circle, I'm going to keep it warm.
So in a way, diabetes in itself is an amazing race, and it's a metaphor for yourself and for being an inspiration for others. Do you feel an additional responsibility now as being a community spokesperson?
I kind of do. I get embarrassed when my blood sugar is high, and I'm like, oh no, I can't. I'm supposed to be sending out this message, but at the same time, as you know, your diabetes is its own animal, and you do what you can to control it, but there's going to be days where it just misbehaves. And the more you can interact in the community, I think the more you learn, the more inspired you are.
Nat's knowledge and confidence would be put to the test on the last day of the competition.
For what portion can I have my eyes closed?
And Nat would need to overcome her biggest fear for the sake of the team.
That was probably the most terrifying moment of my entire life.
2, 3.
There seems to be a lot of us who want to challenge their bodies and want to challenge the limits that diabetes could place on you. So there must be a reason why we're doing this.
Probably. When you become diabetic, all of a sudden, everything you hear is almost bad news. It's like, oh no, not only are you have to watch what you eat and what you do, but you have to worry about your eyes, your kidney, your heart, your nervous system, your feet, infection. All of a sudden it's like negative, negative, negative. And then I think you just probably want to show to yourself and just feel that, no, I'm healthy. I want to go live a healthy life and be active. Diabetes is a challenge, it's not a limitation. As long as you rise to meet that challenge and you put your best effort in, it's not going to limit you in any way.
Being diabetic is just a huge part of who I am, and I'm so grateful to have run the whole race, and it means the world to me to show people that have diabetes that you can be as active as you want.
You go, Nat. When we come back, a road trip to a little town on the Tennessee-Virginia border for a diabetes wake-up call. Many of us know firsthand how hard it can be to stay under control. Or we can watch our diet and get up and move more, but sometimes our bodies still don't want to cooperate.
I've felt that many times myself, Mother Love, and part of the problem is that each one of us is a unique case. Here's the story now of how one man worked with his doctor to find a plan that worked for him.
Since 1997, the birthplace of country music has been home for retired postal carrier Carol Paxton.
Bristol is a good place to live. Bristol is unique in where it's both Virginia and Tennessee. One side of the street is Tennessee and the other side is Virginia.
In his postal service days, Carol walked up to 13 miles a day. He still walks every day, but now it's to keep his type 2 diabetes under control.
On nice days, I go for walks, minimum 3 miles. Sometimes if I feel energetic, I go for 5. And I walk from my house all the way downtown. That gives me a pretty good workout.
Carol's had some adventures, including military service in the Philippines and a stint in the Panama Canal Zone, and his health was always the furthest thing from his mind.
I had such an appetite that I never took care of myself.
Carol was diagnosed with diabetes shortly after he retired.
I had gotten in such terrible physical shape. I was so weak that I couldn't climb a flight of stairs without stopping several times. And I would go lay down on the bed and take several naps during the day.
He was able to get his diabetes in control with diet, exercise, and oral medications for a while. But eventually his A1C crept up from 5.4 to 10, despite his hard work.
I was doing exercise every day, walking, aerobics, got into swimming pools, swam, went to the weight room. I was doing everything that I possibly could to keep my sugar down, but still, that wasn't enough.
So when Carol learned of a year-long clinical study to get better blood glucose control, he didn't hesitate to participate.
The STEP study was actually a study to test out a simple but very incredible piece of paper that asked patients to chart their blood glucoses 7 times a day for 3 days prior to coming in for a clinic visit.
Dr. Stephanie Powell was one of the investigating physicians in the STEP study.
The 360 View tool gives you a 3-day snapshot into what a patient does on a regular basis. The patient is actually checking their blood sugar before meals, before bedtime, and then after they eat. And that gives you a very good idea of if their sugars are spiking after they eat, for instance. And that can help guide what medication you might use to help get them under better control.
So you have the time, the results of the blood sugar, you put down your energy level at that time, and you mark it with a little X at the bottom, and from one X to the other, you draw a little line, and that's how you can tell whether your sugar is going up or going down or maintain a certain course.
When Mr. Paxton came to see me, he was not my typical type 2 diabetic patient. He had gone from over 200 pounds at 5 foot 9 inches tall, and he was down to 145, 150 pounds. And when I talked to him, he was very frustrated. He told me that he was starving to death, he was exercising like a madman, and he still could not get his glucoses less than 300, 350.
Carol's patterns helped him and Dr. Powell gain a better understanding of the relationship between his meals, activities, and blood sugars, and confirmed that Carol needed more than just oral medications.
What I saw with Mr. Paxton's chart was that even fasting with no food in his system, he was running 350 on average. And then when he ate, he spiked even higher, sometimes into the 400s and near 500 range. Since his fastings were high and his postprandial or after meal sugars were even higher, I was fairly certain that he would not be one that would be able to use oral medications to control his glucoses.
When she first said she was going to put me on insulin, immediately I thought of the long needle into the vial. So I told her that I really didn't want to do that. So she said, well, we have what they call a flex pen, and that's a very small needle, and that took away the fear that I have for the long needles, and I was very satisfied with that.
Dr. Powell started Carol on a long-acting insulin, but it took some time and a lot of structured testing to find the insulin routine that worked for him.
It was very educational for both of us because, number one, it convinced both of us that he did truly need insulin and that it was something that was going to work dramatically in his case. And by working together and looking at his readings on the View tool, we were able to significantly fine-tune his glucose readings.
For Dr. Powell, getting a clear snapshot of Carol's blood sugar patterns was invaluable. For Carol, it was truly life-changing.
The past 3 times that I've taken my A1C, one time it was 5.7, the other time it was 5.5, and the third time was 5.5.
Life is too short to feel like you're out of control of your body. And now at least there is a tool that can help diabetics to feel like they are more in control of their diabetes rather than being controlled by their diabetes.
I feel like I want to enjoy things. that I didn't before. It's all because you keep your sugar in line. And if you can control your sugar, you have a better quality of life.
When we come back, Chef Michelle's got some veggies cooking. Stick around.
Hi, I'm Chef Michelle Nishan, and today in the DLife kitchen, we're going to show you how to make those healthy greens taste great. Now, greens like kale are high in antioxidants, help fight inflammation, may even have anti-cancer properties, making them a perfect food for anybody with diabetes. But they can be tough and a little bit bitter. That's why today's recipe serves up kale and leeks together, braised in vegetable stock and tossed with a creamy mustard sauce. Let's get started. Now, the braising process is really something that uses a little bit of liquid. Usually you can start by either searing or pre-roasting something that you're going to braise. Here we use a little bit of olive oil, and we're going to add the leeks first. Give them a quick stir. Very fragrant, and the leeks are really going to help the kale because the kale can be a little bit on the bitter side. Leeks are nice and sweet. This smells really good. And then we're going to add the kale. Now we're going to pre-saute just to get the wilt started, and then we're going to add just enough liquid to not even cover the kale. Now it's time to add the liquid. Here, check it out. So just a little bit of water, and then a little bit of vegetable stock. And then we're just going to season a couple of grinds of freshly milled pepper. So we're going to give that a stir, make sure it's evenly distributed. And we're going to cover it and cook it for just about 5 minutes, and then it's going to be almost done. This really is a good braise right here. You can see that there's still liquid left in the bottom, and you can see that the kale is still nice and bright green. It's got life left in it. And now we're going to add some sour cream, just like that. And then some nice grainy Dijon mustard, really nice. But anyway, I'm going to kind of stir the mustard and the cream together there in the center. And now the most important step is getting this beautiful batch of kale, creamy kale, into a nice serving bowl. Now take a look at this, how nice and creamy that is. Now serve this braised kale dish to your family, and you might even find that your kids will eat this veggie. I know 3 of my 5 kids do. For this recipe and more great tips on managing your diabetes, visit us at the website, DLife.com/recipebox, and try out our very easy-to-use recipe finder for more than 8,500 great recipes that come complete with instructions and nutritional breakdowns. I'm Chef Michelle Nishan. Thanks for joining me in the DLife kitchen.
Thanks, Michelle. When we come back, Jim Turner wants to know how you really feel about your diabetes.
I hate it.
Welcome back. Nobody cracks open a diabetes question quicker than Jim Turner. And today, he's taking the quest on the road.
Not what I wanted to see. You know, I gotta say, sometimes this disease is, if not easy, then not so bad. It just kind of sits there in the background of my life and I don't really notice it that much. But sometimes it's just, it's front and center, and I gotta say, I hate it. I mean, I really hate it. At a recent diabetes conference that I was at, I found out I'm not alone. Do you hate having diabetes?
Yes, I do.
Absolutely.
It's a pain.
Every single day of my life, I hate it.
Yeah, I do.
It's a lot of work.
Yep, that's where I'm at, honestly, right now.
Very frustrating. I hate it.
I do. I haven't had it for very long, so
How long have you had it?
about 8 months. I feel like I hate it more now.
Now that you've learned a little bit about it?
You know, when I first got it, I thought I would find the solution and it would get better, but now, you know, I know it's not.
What do you hate most about having diabetes?
That it's all the time. All the time. I can't just eat, I have to check.
Constant monitoring, constant control, constant being aware.
You know, other people don't have to watch what they eat. I sit next to people and they're just chowing down, and there I sit.
And I really hate the lows. horrible. The neuropathy that I've got from it, I mean, I wouldn't wish it upon anybody.
Dealing with the disappointment when it doesn't quite work, no matter how hard you try.
But there is life after diabetes. You know, there's great medicines, there's great doctors.
You can't hate it, it's just something that happened.
There's great foods and techniques that can really help.
It's a trial, there's no doubt about that, but I don't hate it.
I actually don't hate having diabetes because there's like some experiences that I've had in my life that actually like made me kind of like a better person. It gives me more responsibilities. So, and like when I'm places by myself, I gotta depend on myself to give myself everything.
I find there's a lot of benefits in terms of encouraging me to have a healthy lifestyle, eat better, exercise regularly.
I like it because like the camps, I went to a snowboarding camp last December. That was pretty fun. And I meet all kinds of diabetics and I hear their stories, which is really interesting.
But there are times when I don't like it.
I don't go around hating. It's been 36 years. There's not enough time for that.
Thanks, Jim. And thanks to all the honest people who stepped in front of our cameras. DLife will be right back.
We hope some of the stories you've seen today will be an inspiration to you on your diabetes journey.
And don't be shy. We know you have something to offer, and we want to hear it. Visit us at DLife.com/feedback to share your comments and story ideas.
And that's it for this edition of DLife. Thanks a lot for watching.
Remember, tomorrow is a new Diabetes Day. We'll see you next week.